when did you first decide? You said you wanted to be a wrestler in third grade. When did you
Yes.
first take steps towards that? When did you find out about independence? When did that all?
Well, so I'm a big believer, a big proponent. I tell all the younger kids that I work with nowadays that do as I say, not as I did, because I did everything the wrong way. Uh, Learn from my horrible decisions. Uh, like I said, I mean, wrestling was always just my thing, right? So like, I was I grew up in California, which was primarily a WWE territory. You know, that was the big stars on the TV. And it wasn't until I found the aftermags that I was like, there's a whole world besides WWE. You know, and that's where I got introduced to the NWA and World Class and the stuff in Memphis and just like just all this other insane world out there that I could really only consume through these magazines. But I was always real big, and it's funny to me, going forward. But I was always real big on flipping to the back of the aftermags and reading the results by state. Not just to see what happened on WWF house shows, but to see what happened on a random Tuesday in Philly or whatever. I was just so enamored with pro wrestling that anything I could get my hands on, I would get, and that's how I started finding out about indies. So I was aware. My favorite story about all that is when I was in 93, 94. Uh, my little brother and I, like, we set up our own makeshift wrestling ring in our backyard, which wasn't, it was just mattresses. And then we dug four wooden posts, and put bungee cord, and that was our ropes. Like you couldn't just stand on them or anything, but it was just like, it was as close to a ring as you could get. And like, we knew to protect each other. Like we weren't doing backyard wrestling like it became, with
Mm.
light tubes and jumping off stuff. We were just emulating the guys we saw on TV, and we were always be those guys. Like I was never a character, like my own made up character. I was always like, I want to be Macho Man. I want to be Shawn Michaels. I want to be Razor Ramon or whomever. And I remember very vividly, he and I used to get into massive battles over who got to be Sabu.
Oh
Keep in
wow.
mind, I'd never seen Sabu wrestle. He had never
Oh,
seen Sabu wrestle. We just saw this crazy, scarred up guy upside down in the After magazine. So we were like, oh no, he's the best. Like, no clue anything about him other than what we read about. And that's kind of the gateway to the indies for us. Uh, Fast forward a little bit to 96, and I found out there was a promotion that was running a show at the Boys and Girls Club about 3 blocks from my house. And so, doors were usually at 6. I was there at 11 a.m. every day. Every time there was a show, I was there at 11 a.m. Like I will do anything to help. Like, and fortunately, they either were lazy and just wanted some punk kid to help, or they saw, like, oh, this kid really wants it. We'll throw him a bone. But like, they let me set up chairs. They let me help put up the ring. They let me sell the hot dogs. They let me sell the tickets. They let me whatever, and I was game for whatever because it's pro wrestling, right? So I could do whatever I want. And part of the deal was once the ring got put up and everything got organized, if there was time, they'd let me get the ring. Which was heaven to me. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, I get
and
to be in a pro wrestling ring.
how old did
And
you say you were at this point? Sorry.
at this point, I was 13.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. So you were quite young at this point.
Yeah, yeah. And like, fortunately, just because, like I said, it's been something that was, I kind of got things. Like, I didn't get, it's not like I walked in the door and got it, but like I understood how to do a collar and elbow tie up pretty much before anybody taught me, just because I'd seen 800 million of them in my life. So some of the guys would get me in the ring to bump me around just because they didn't want to bump each other. And they're like, hey, this idiot kid will fall down for us a million times and get up and do it again. Which 100%, yes, please. Bump me again. I'm game, right? So they kind of, I kind of grew on people, and they kind of, taught me different little things, but it was never like a training school where it was like, hey, this is the day I learned how to run the ropes, and this is the day how, this is the day we worked on chain wrestling, and this is whatever. It was just kind of like, hey, do you know how to take a hip toss? Well, I know what a hip toss is. Okay, tuck your chin. Here we go. Like, all right, now I'm taking hip tosses so the guys can transition to their next spot. And so that was like I said, my training was done in every fathomable incorrect way. Uh, add to the fact I was also 13 years old, so that's
it's a little young. It's a little young.
Yeah.